country. November the 19th, General Ellis, commanding the Tank Corps, issued a special order.
Tomorrow, the Tank Corps will have the chance for which it has been waiting for many months, to operate on good going in the van of the battle. I leave the good name of the Corps with great confidence in your hands. I propose leading the attack of the Center Division.
The objective which they were attacking was the Hindenburg Line.
There were 3 lines of trenches, each trench anything up to 15 feet wide. In front of the main line lay band upon band and acre upon acre of dense wire. Nowhere was it less than 50 yards deep, and here and there it jutted out in great salients flanked by batteries of machine guns. Never before had we been faced with such a wilderness of wire.
At 6:20 a.m. on November the 20th, with their general flying his flag at their head like an admiral at sea in the tank Hilda, the machines of a new epoch rolled into battle. 476 tanks, over 50 supply tanks, 32 specially for destroying wire, 2 for bridging, 9 wireless tanks, 1 for laying cable, 378 fighting tanks.
We got in, shut down our tanks, and away we went. We had rough compasses in the tanks, and we got our course, and we set course for the enemy line. The first thing that happened was all dead silent. There wasn't a word until we got to the enemy wire, which was 0 hour for the guns. And that, again, was a first-class show. The Crystal Palace had nothing in it at all. It was no answer from the Germans at all, and it was the first time in our lives we saw the Hun being blown up all over the place, bits of thing going everywhere. The troops were frightfully pleased. No machine gun fires. We opened up our tanks, and then we got into this belt of wire. It was quite terrifying because it was about 7 feet high, very, very thick wire, and it was over 120 yards deep in places. And of course, if we'd have stopped in that or got our tracks ripped off, then we should have been for it. Instead of that, the tanks made great swathes in the wire, and the jocks who were playing with us, they came through the gaps we'd made, and we all emerged the other side into a deep valley known as the Grand Ravine.
I crossed the first line. The wire didn't prove to be any obstacle at all. The artillery had done their job very well. And the element of surprise, the heavy gas shelling, no preliminary bombardments at all, had made it almost a cakewalk, one might say.
Almost a cakewalk. In 4 hours, the British Third Army advanced between 3 and 4 miles, right through the Hindenburg defenses, took well over 4,000 prisoners and over 100 guns. Their own losses were astonishingly light. It was one of the most remarkable victories of the war. And in November 1917, victory of any kind was badly needed. The British government decided that the time had come to ring the church bells of Britain.
It's the first time the peals have been rung since the outbreak of war. I went up Ludgate Hill to hear St. Paul's carry on. It hasn't been heard since it celebrated the declaration of peace after the South African War. There was a big crowd on the cathedral steps and in the forecourt. After the clock had struck 12, the big bell known as Great Paul first boomed out and was followed by the full peal of bells. The people cheered and cheered. The bells of the other churches helped to swell the wings of sound carrying the joyful news.
One of Haig's staff officers wrote on November the 23rd,
All at home seem to have gone crazy about the last success. It was, of course, a very fine effort, but it was no greater than other shows and does not deserve hysterics. When the really big, decisive victory comes, it will be time enough to ring church bells and sing the national anthem.
The doubters were right. On November the 30th, the Germans counterattacked, taking most of the British troops by surprise. In the fight which followed, they won back almost all the ground that they had lost. When the battle died down, losses on both sides were roughly equal. It was a sad end for the British Army, which had put forth such tremendous efforts during the year. The iron of disappointment entered deep into men's souls. A British diplomat wrote to Haig,
Even now, this war could have a glorious ending for us, but it won't.
Christmas came, and an officer at Haig's headquarters wrote in his diary,
The fourth Christmas at war. And though the outlook is so black, yet still I think it will be the last war Christmas. How different each Christmas has been. We cannot fail to win. Each year inevitably shows success more certain. But for the next few months, the prospect is the most gloomy since 1914.
"1917 expired, having brought nothing but frustration to the Allied cause. The Western Front remained, baffling, bloody, ruinous, and still the very heart of the war. All that men could look forward to was Clemenceau's promise. Only war, nothing but war.